Hey everyone. Often on Sundays, I go into a deeper dive and take a look at the bigger picture. We've had a lot of unfolding energies in recent days. We had a very intense new moon in Scorpio just a few days ago. And the energy of Uranus retrograding back into Taurus we've really been feeling that. We also have a water grand trine with Jupiter and Saturn and Mercury currently activating that grand trine, but other planets have been moving through it. We also have a cradle formation, 4 points of a six-pointed star. So much going on, so much showing up in the energy. And so I'm going to talk a little bit today about how we can think about these energies, what's going on, what it means, how to make the most of what is happening. Not that we'll necessarily be able to break it down and understand it completely, but at least to sort of take a deeper look at what some of these energies are and get what we can out of the insights astrology has to offer. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro perspective for Sunday, November 23rd. We also have coming up this week the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States. So we've got, that energy of travel, of sort of disrupted routines and schedules and things like that going on with the recent new moon in Scorpio. We really are going through a transformation process, a descent into the underworld, that Scorpio realm of mystery, of things that lie in the shadows, things that are hidden, that we can't necessarily see and come to terms with. So we also have, as I mentioned, I haven't been talking a whole lot about the energy of reckoning. And we've got Uranus retrograde now back in Taurus. So Uranus stays in a sign for about 7 years. So we have the energy of the sign that it's in. And after, several years, seven-ish years, it goes into the next sign. Often it retrogrades back into the sign that it recently left, and it goes back and forth until it enters the next sign where it stays for the next seven-ish years. So that's what's happening right now. We're in that transition between Uranus in Taurus and Uranus in Gemini. So earlier this year, Uranus went into Gemini and then it stationed and went retrograde and has now gone back into Taurus. It's currently at 29 degrees Taurus, which 29 degrees is the anaretic degree of any sign. It is a sign that or a degree that brings the part of that sign that has to do with final the opportunity to really take a serious look at whether you have done the work of that sign or what is left what work you might be taking with you in as that planet enters the next sign. And so it is a place of reckoning. It is a place of acknowledging, hey, here's what we've done, here's what we've achieved, here's the work we did that we can be proud of and see how we've evolved from where we began to where we are now. But we also have that energy of the surfacing of what is not yet complete. So 29 degrees is that point where it's like, yikes, whatever you haven't finished, you better pay attention to what that is now, because maybe this is your last chance to at least make significant progress on something you've been working on related to those energies. And if not, to at least recognize where that work is still needing to be done and really see and feel what it is that needs to be worked on in the next phase as that planet enters the next sign, in this case being Uranus going into Gemini. So Uranus in Taurus already, that is a a planet of shakeup and change in a sign that really likes stability and comfort. So, for the past 7 years, since Uranus went into Taurus, we've had to contend with the experience of whatever it was that we thought felt comfy, where our routines, we could ease into, lean back on what we can count on, reaching for what we can depend on, and recognizing that, oh, that thing that I used to depend on isn't there anymore. Oh, and I guess that one isn't there either. And in so many ways, in these layers energetically throughout our lives, seeing where those comforts are changing. We're losing them in many ways, they're destabilizing. So, again, you can see this and how this shows up in the collective. You can also watch for it in your own personal life, in how you may be experiencing uh, things being destabilized, or your normal habits, patterns, and routines being disrupted. So, what is the evolutionary purpose of Uranus going through Taurus? Because every sign, every planet, every placement has an evolutionary purpose. The evolutionary purpose of Uranus in Taurus is that ability to see what we couldn't see before. So, shifting our comforts in ways that allow us to create better comforts. So, in many ways, we might have to come to terms with the fact that old ways of doing things, old default ways of operating may not work anymore, but we are also having the opportunity to create new ones that work better. So we can see that in the collective in terms of how things break down in the government, or the systems, or the systems that we come to rely on and depend on, and seeing the ways that, oh wow, I always thought that would always be there, and maybe I shouldn't, assume that, right? So really feeling that discomfort of having to experience the comforts, the routines, the norms not being there. But at the same time, this evolutionary energy is saying, yes, and you can build it in new, better ways that actually function better, right? So, um, just like, and I've used this example before, but it's just like that old couch you have in your living room that is worn out, right? Threadbare, and maybe the stuffing is coming out, maybe the cat scratched it up, and that couch is just so comfy. You don't want to get rid of it, even though you really know you need to, but it's hard to let go. So the energy of Uranus comes in, and somebody sinks through the couch, right? Or the cat really shreds it, or something happens and it's like, okay, I can't ignore it anymore. I really need to get a new couch. So that is the energy of Uranus. It says, yes, you can let go. You can let go of the things that you feel like you can't let go of, because they provide that container, that comfort, that whatever is providing ease in your life, you can let it go. And when you do let it go, you get to bring in something new. And while that can be scary, so if it's a couch, you may have a hard time, right? It's expensive, right? Big outlay of money that maybe you don't have. You might be bringing in a couch that you just don't love. How do you know you're gonna love it, right? You go shopping and you sit on it and it seems good, but you bring it home, it's like, oh, it's just not my old couch. But so we have to let go in that way. And when we do, we are creating the possibility, yes, of having not our favorite wonderful couch anymore, but we are also creating that possibility that, hey, wow, at the same time, there's this possibility that you're going to find a new couch, you're going to bring it in, and you're going to go, oh my God, why have I not bought a new couch sooner? Right? That that it really is better than my old one. I really should have let go of that one sooner. And so Uranus is the energy that helps that process. It says, we're going to make it so that you can't stay clinging to the things you may be attached to. We're going to make it so that you must let go. You must accept and embrace change. And if you do so with a positive intention, with a openness and willingness to find the next perfect thing, that you are opening your heart and mind, your spirit, your sense of possibility to something that could be even better, and will ultimately help you to evolve, to move forward, to become who you can be with that new couch, right? I mean, like, how do your friends see you when they come in and your old ratty couch is there versus how it will feel to invite people over when you have that brand new, shiny, wonderful thing? So that's obviously a metaphor, but think about how this symbolism applies in your life. Where have you been attached to something? Where are you needing to really let go of comforts, of habits, patterns, routines, things that have given you safety and a feeling of something you can depend on in the past that might be painful in the moment, but ultimately is opening the space for something new, something even better? And how can you align yourself with something even greater to come in? And so it is a matter of opening your heart and mind to possibility. It's, maybe having to shift your thinking a little bit, like, wow, it turns out I actually found the money I needed for that new thing when I didn't think I would, right? Just opening to how things can shift in positive ways. So that energy, that is the evolutionary invitation and gift of Uranus in Taurus. And we've had that going on for 7 years. So if that helps you to explain a few things, then hopefully that, helps you see things more clearly. But what's happening right now is that we've got Taurus at 29 degree, or Uranus at 29 degrees Taurus. It went direct through 29 degrees Taurus, entered into Gemini, and then retrograded back, and it's at 29 degrees Taurus right now until about a week from now. So November 30th, December 1st. I don't remember exactly, but somewhere around there, when it will retrograde beyond 29 and go back into 28 degrees and then 27 degrees before it stations direct in February of 2026. So this energy of Taurus, or Uranus, sorry, at 29 degrees Taurus is another factor that we have to look at when we're looking at the Scorpio new moon and the cradle formation and the grand trines and all the indicators of change and disruption that we have right now. We had Mercury retrograding in an opposition, well, direct in an opposition to Uranus, and then retrograde. When Mercury went into Sagittarius, retrograded back into Scorpio. And so twice now, Mercury has opposed Uranus. Mercury is the messenger. So it's activating that energy of shakeup, of disruption, of something being clarified that it needs to change. And doing that, Mercury, through information surfacing, right? Something coming to light, something being communicated, something being shared or something that you are needing to say or share or talk about. Some of that need for communication coming to the surface as part of this process of reckoning, 29 degrees, anaretic degree, a reckoning with this energy of Uranus in Taurus. So the other piece, so we've got that Mercury opposition, we've got, double sextiles and other stuff, but which if you've been following me, we've been talking about that. But just to come back for a minute to this idea of Uranus at 29 degrees Taurus and this reckoning is that we are completing, not only are we bringing something to completion that needs to be released, but it has that sped up feeling. So at 29 degrees, it's the, oh my gosh, we haven't done this yet. We better do it now with Uranus in Taurus before Uranus goes into Gemini. So we've got that extra pressury feeling of now is the moment and the shakeup is happening and the information, Mercury bringing information to light, but also this feeling of that coming back to that couch metaphor of like it's time to let go of what is not working. It's time to be honest with yourself about how you need to change or what needs to be let go so that you can step into the next phase of your life. And we can do that together collectively. Step into whatever our next phase is in our collective evolution. So that energy of Uranus at 29 degrees Taurus is a feeling of reckoning. It is a feeling of what is not complete. What do we still have to do? And that pressure feeling of, okay, look around and be really honest with yourself about what it's time to release. What is no longer serving you, what is no longer working, how we need to really shift and open our minds to hearts and minds to new possibilities, new ways of seeing things, new ways of talking about things, and new approaches. So what has been happening in the collective is a lot of sort of shift and change that is confusing and new information coming to light, but what does it really mean? And a lot of that kind of stuff. And then on the personal level, we have this experience of wow, I always thought this, or I've always approached, this problem in this particular way, or I always had this set of beliefs that went with a particular problem, or this way of defining it or understanding it, right? So that can include, it's not limited to, but it can include things that are happening in the news cycle or in the collective that surface in terms of, a problem that you've always seen a certain way, something you've always framed, according to a certain set of beliefs, a certain perspective. And maybe you always thought, oh, this is this way because of something else. And the opportunity here is to ask yourself, like, where are my beliefs, my assumptions, maybe I'm needing to expand possibility of either what might be going on or how I might approach this or how I might think about solutions. So, in other words, and I've said this before, but we want to be thinking especially at this time period, this particular moment, we'll call it a moment, even though it lasts for many years. This time period where we need to be going through this process of letting go of how we have solved problems. And we have solved problems in the past based on what we know from the past. And now that Pluto is in Aquarius, where it will be until 2043, and it will make its transition out of Aquarius and into Pisces in 2043, 43 and 44. So we've got, a little less than 20 years to figure this out. But the invitation here is that we think about and frame and find solutions to problems from the future, from either what we are becoming, what we might become, what we want to become, how we want things to go, right? We have to be future oriented. We have to be thinking about how to solve problems, how to approach, our own ways of engaging in our communities, or our own sets of beliefs about, what something means. We have to recognize the places where those beliefs and assumptions come from the past, because the past is what we know. And it is very challenging and uncomfortable to step into the future, where real solutions to the problems of the future lie in solutions from the future, but can be very uncomfortable because the future is unknown, right? How can you solve something from the unknown? Well, you have to play, you have to experiment, you have to try out new ideas that maybe is the direction where something is heading in the future, and not limited by what you know or have experienced in the past. So it's a lot to think about, but if you can reflect on whatever your own personal issues and challenges of the day, right, of the moment, of the week, whatever, um, whatever is showing up for you, that is the place where the work is for you. So, if it's your car broke down, if it's, I don't know what I'm gonna have for dinner, if it's, I can't get along with this person, how am I supposed to write a paper together with them, right? Like, whatever it is, that is where your work is being done. And so the invitation here is to think about the problem, right? Whatever the problem or challenge is, and ask yourself, if I were thinking about how to solve this problem from where I am headed rather than from where I have been, what would that look like? So Pluto is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So Uranus is an important planet until 2043 because modern ruler, I should say. But Pluto in Aquarius is highlighting the energy of the sign that is ruled by Uranus. So ruled by these themes of freedom, authenticity, shake up, innovation, getting outside of the limitations of the past, getting outside the box, innovating, thinking beyond the limitations. So Pluto is in Aquarius. That is bringing a deeper transformation in the area of, themes of freedom, equality. What does this mean? We might have different definitions of those things, but those themes are up for all of us. And what does that mean? What does that look like? How do we want to do that? And then Uranus, as the ruler of Aquarius, gives a certain tone to how that shows up. And again, earlier this year, Uranus went into Gemini and then retrograded back into Taurus. So the difference between Uranus in Gemini and Uranus in Taurus gives us a different vibe to these themes of freedom, of breakthrough, break out, break free, themes of equality and community and thinking outside the box. So when Uranus is in Taurus, as it is now, we have more of a feeling of like, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to, create the routines, the habits, the foundations, the ways of stabilizing ourselves to create a status quo that works. And when Uranus is in Gemini, as it was earlier this year and will be again next year when it goes into Gemini to stay for 7 years, um, that is a very different kind of Aquarius. So Uranus in Gemini makes Aquarius different because Uranus in Gemini is like that air sign of Gemini: curiosity, information, themes of intelligence, whether that's natural or artificial intelligence, themes of higher level problem solving and information, and where we get our information and how we communicate. All of those things are just kind of really become part of the theme of how we think about freedom, how we think about equality, how we think about breaking free of the limitations of the past. Breaking rules, that's another Aquarian theme. So, doing that in terms of our thinking and our ideas, getting outside the box. That energy of Uranus in Taurus right now says, okay, until it goes back into Gemini, we're focused on how to stabilize, how to understand, nail things down, we're going to put things in boxes in terms of our ideas and our thinking. We're going to go, okay, how do I define that? Where do I put that? Where does that belong? That all of that is very Taurus. But then once Uranus goes into Gemini, we're going to go, yeah, that there's that box, there's that way of understanding and defining something. But now I have, more questions. And how do I explore what's outside of that box? So the whole point that I wanted to talk about today is how that Uranus in Taurus energy is being reactivated and with greater intensity because it has this feeling of, this is really it. And so, where do you need to look in your life for things that can be let go, released, what's not working anymore? Where do you need to let go of old attachments and open your heart and mind to new ideas, new perspectives, new approaches, but also what is going to create stability in your life and new thinking about that and what that looks like? We have Mercury on the 29th of November going direct after being retrograde. So it's been an interesting Mercury retrograde. I would say that we felt that Mercury. It almost felt like Mercury was more retrograde before it went retrograde. Like almost once it went retrograde, things felt like they were starting to be a little bit more clear. Um, and before Mercury actually went retrograde, but when it was in those shadow degrees where it was going to go retrograde, that to me felt like, wow, everything is going wrong. I can't like I can't stay focused on one track because everything's pulling me off to some distraction and things like that. And lots of tech stuff that was coming up. So once Mercury went retrograde, it felt like, okay, now things are beginning to clarify more. Information is coming to the surface that is uncomfortable and disruptive, but at the same time also is more clarifying. It's like, okay, seeing what was below the surface now coming to the surface, and we'll need to process it all, but that will happen over time. But that is, there has been a lot of new information surfacing recently, and shift and change and unexpected developments and all those things. So we are working with that energy, and Mercury will go direct on the 29th. Saturn goes direct on the 27th. And so Saturn will be, it's in Pisces now, and Saturn's going to be heading back toward Aries once it goes direct. Neptune also December 10th will station direct. So once, these are three planets that are going to go direct in the next, 3 weeks. So things are going to start moving forward with a little bit more traction over time, and we'll see where it goes. But this is the evolutionary invitation, is to focus on what you may be attached to that needs to change or be let go to make room for what is trying to emerge. So those are my thoughts for you today. Thank you so much for being here. And just as a reminder, I'm Marina Orms, and I have lunar nodes, which help you to see your way forward. They give you your evolutionary medicine from your own chart. And you can, in fact, look yours up by your date of birth on a chart. So if you haven't done that or don't know what yours are, I'm going to include the link to that chart in the description for this video. And I do have now available 2 of the South Node, Lunar Node classes to help you see your evolutionary medicine, understand what you come into this life with, and how to leverage that to create what you want in your life, your future, your soul's purpose, all of that. And so that is available at transformationalastrology.com. And I'll put that birthday chart link in the description for this video. Thank you so much for being here. Transformationalastrology.com. And thank you for subscribing to this YouTube channel. I'm here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.